the research that we have been doing so far at the University of Indonesia. When I got the invitations, I saw the themes, research, theories, and practice. It's really struck me for a while because I've been doing research so many years. I just realized that in the last 5 years, I think, I sort of like turned direction where my research should be implementable, should be useful to others instead of heavy on theories, heavy on concept, etc. So it is such a good opportunity for me to share with all of you what we have been doing so far, since my background in statistics, mathematics, and computer science. You can imagine that what research I have done so far, not so much related to the practice, but in the last 5 years, I should say, a lot of research that I've been doing, I push it forward into a more practical things. And I would like also to share that kind of experience to all of you, that for Indonesia, I think we need a research not only in the theory, but also in the practice. So allow me to present the topic, developing international research and educational standard for improving nation competitiveness, challenge and opportunity. See, I choose the logo. As we can see, this is our national flag, knowledge, and then this is our natures, our cultures, that we are so rich about it, especially as we hear the welcome speech from the governor. Indonesia, very rich in cultures, very rich in nature. So that's a very big asset to us to start to explore our research and to make it more useful to all of Indonesian, also to all humankind. Okay, the overview. I start from the globalization forces. We live in the global village. We cannot avoid ourselves that we have to participate in these international activities, among others, research and educations. And then we try to put together and relationship what is the science, technology, and innovation. And then we develop what we call strategic development framework for our research and development, especially since my area in computer science, so focus on ICT, more specific, more focus on small, medium enterprise. And then what are the challenges and opportunity and conclusion. Okay, I think as the welcome speech also mentions, our presence here is not by accident. It is by design by God. So we are here to share our knowledge, our experience. We come from several countries, but I hear around 12 countries, and also from all over Indonesia, that we have a common purpose. We have a common objective, which is how we develop research and practices to make our living much, much better than before. So these are the language in a globalization era. We cannot avoid others to come to our country to do trading, to do research, to study, etc., etc. These are what we call liberalization. As we all know, the international organization also established to guide us, to facilitate us about this movement of liberalization. Like, for example, in ASEAN, we heard about ASEAN community, and then World Trade Organization, International Labor Organization, etc. And then these liberalizations sort of guide us, or I should say more harder, force us to establish a standard that we can compatible to talk to each other. Indonesia, in terms from the education point of view, already established its standard through what we call Indonesian qualification framework that complies to the ASEAN standard, that what we call ASEAN qualification reference framework. This standard make us compatible to each other. Since this standard specify or recognize a lot of areas, a lot of things, a lot of skills, we have to choose, or we have to establish ourselves, our identity, what are the skills, what are the competence that we have. Then it is recognized what we call with a certification. Indonesia also have a policies. It has a national certification that recognize in Indonesia as a step toward regional, even international certification. So these are the consequences of we living in the global village. Now we look at our positions in the ASEAN countries. As we can see here, from global indexes, or I should say global indicators, Indonesia still behind several countries, especially Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, etc. So as we can see here, by knowing our baseline, our positions, we know what areas we need to improve. And one of them that really strategic in order to improve or to increase nation competitiveness through research. Because research determines our futures. If you win the research, you win the futures. So, how to improve this nation competitiveness? See, in our daily life, we already interact, we already associated, we already involved, we already study with science, technology. But with science and technology per se, it is difficult for us to cope with the development, with the rapid changings of this environment. So we have to work harder every day, especially we are in the academic community, how to make innovation based on science and technology that we have. And we live in the multi-dimensions. It is force us also in doing research, we have to incorporate, we have to look at other disciplines. So it is the characteristic of the present, even the futures of research activities that involve multidisciplinary. If we just depend on technology, or if we just rely on technology, probably we can live at the present time when we live. But what about our students? If we teach our students with the current technology, when they graduate in the next 3-4 years to come, probably the technology already outdated. The technology already obsolete. So we live a generation that cannot compete, that cannot survive. So that's the idea of research. How we can anticipate the future technology and science based on the current one, based on the existence one. These are the ones that we have to teach to our students. So when they graduate, they can survive. I remember when the first time I learned about computers, late 80s, we have a word processing called WordStar. Anyone ever use WordStar? Okay? And we use, for calculation, Lotus. Anyone? Okay. Are they still exist right now? No, they don't exist. Most of people use Word. Instead of Lotus, they use Excel. So that's the danger of teaching a technology to our student. That's the danger of teaching only technology to our students. And where do we learn? Or where do we explore the futures of technology? Is in the research activities. So that's what we call innovations. Innovation is our weapon to survive. Innovation is our weapon to anticipate a better futures. I like this slide. I took it from Google. In order to create innovations, at least you have to motivate it yourself, or you have to look at what is the use of this innovation later on. So it's like a prediction. Look at the marketplace competitions, target market, maximize profit, yeah, and etc. That's the window for us where the theories, yeah, should follow with the practice. So in that case, as I mentioned in my early opening speech, research that I've been doing in the first 15 years, I think, mostly fulfilling my academic needs, fulfilling my academic ambitions, but it's not fulfilling my networking needs, my society needs. So in the last 5 years, I changed directions, that I start doing a research that demand-driven and contextual, maybe research in North Sulawesi. There are things unique about it as compared to we live in Jakarta, for example, and also benefit-oriented. What is the benefit of the innovation that you have for the society, for the humankind? So we start to develop a strategic framework. I adopt this framework from one of the scholars in UK called Richard Hicks. I modify it, especially in ICT, maybe in other field can also develop similar things. In ICT, in information, communication and technology, there are two things that can be developed, hardware or software. And the objective for export or for domestic use. If we look at quadrant A, we make a hardware, and then our objective is for the export. Maybe we already blocked by the well-established product in the world, like Hewlett-Packard, yeah? There are IBM, etc. Will be difficult, almost impossible, or maybe I should say impossible. We can beat, yeah, the industry that already well established. And then when we develop a software with the orientation for export, this also we will compete with Oracle, will compete with Microsoft, will compete with SAP. So what I would like to share here, how we can recognize, identify the marketplace, yeah, as the result of our research later on will be useful. Again, quadrant B, almost impossible we can beat Microsoft, Oracle, or SAP. And look at quadrant D. We would like to develop hardware. And then for the domestic use, this is also very difficult to get a trust from the users. Not to mention the preference support from the government is very difficult to find, to get. So the only thing that leaves for us in ICT to develop research into practice is how we can develop software for our domestic use. This is the entry point that I would like to share with others. As long as we recognize what are the factors that we have most that other will lacking to have it, or other maybe doesn't have it or do not have it. So this is what I call cluster, and then from there it can go to the company. So this framework gives us a clear guidance how we can develop a research that can be useful to others, that can be implemented, and then give benefit to others. It starts from the context, very local, until a finished one, until a product. Not only stop in the contextual level or even conceptual level or what you call logical level. It has to be a physical and detailed. And in doing so, I'm glad that at the ceremony, opening ceremony, representative from education present here from the province. I've been knowing him for several years because we need a government support as well. So all other policies or other assets maybe that belong to the government also related to our activity, research activities. And academician, we are here at University of UNCLAB, University Klabat, and business. So these triangles has to work together in order to create end-to-end research result from the lab into the real things in the daily activities. So I start from what we have most. I start from what we have most, which is small medium enterprise. Indonesia, a biggest contributor to its GDP is small medium enterprise. The biggest contributor to the workforce is a small medium enterprise. So it's just like how ICT give more benefit, more usage to the small medium enterprise to strengthen it in order to gain more profit, more benefit to all parties. We use ICT mostly for a support. I believe that all of us in this room has a mobile technology or smartphone. And I strongly believe as well that most of us use that mobile technology for texting, for WhatsApp, for communications. From latest survey, we spend almost 6 hours using our smartphone daily, 6 hours. And also from our recent research, it shows that 6 hours we use this technology mostly for non-productive things. I should say mostly for a consumptive things instead of a productive things. So we would like to change it. In order to change it, ICT has to be an enabler. How we can create something that not only for a support to communicate, etc., but to enable us doing something that unthinkable before it can be doing it. So we develop a framework for this electronic small medium enterprise. We know that small medium enterprise almost impossible to invest heavily on ICT. But thanks to the technology, thanks to the advancement of the technology, now that technology has so many power that can provide unthinkable services that we cannot imagine before the technology can give such services. It is unthinkable before the biggest businessman in hotel, he or she doesn't have a single hotel. It is unthinkable before the biggest businessman in travel, he or she doesn't have any single car for the rental, something like that. You can look at in the Google right now, so many companies as a third party using this ICT as enabler. So for a small medium enterprise, we develop a framework that give services to this small medium enterprise so that they can enlarge their market, they can make their product more efficient, they can improve customer services. Even in the last study that we had, ICT for small medium enterprise also can make the environment more greener, more cleaner, more efficient in contributing to the pollution, to the emission. So that's the power of ICT right now. What are the areas that we try to do that? So far, these 4 areas already, or I should say ongoing, several papers already published. First, in education. Futures education or 21st education not only come to campus, to the class for study, but people can learn anytime, anywhere, anyhow. So we develop a framework how we can utilize all learning resources that can be accessed by technology anywhere, anytime, anywhere, anyhow, so that we can have a better education services. The implementations, we call it Indonesian Open Educational Resources. We managed to integrate around 200 digital libraries of higher education institutions, sharing their collection. We managed to collect several courses from prominent lecturers to share their knowledge to others that learning the same things, the same subject, etc. So this is, and not only sharing, but also it's incur business. Yeah? It create business in that activities. And then the research, we now at the stage of recognizing learners' profile, learner style, so the learning resources provided will suit to the style that the learner has. We combine 3 dimensions: motivations, and then knowledge, and the style, in order to get a profile of the learners, and then push the materials or the learning resources according to their profile. That research also still ongoing, several papers already published, and it is very useful because each of us, even though we learn the same subject, probably the way we learn or the pace of learning maybe it's not the same. And ICT has a power to recognize these individual characters. Okay, tourism. This is a big data analysis. Why tourists come to North Sulawesi? Why, what the tourists will look for if they go to Manado, etc., etc. This profile or these patterns is repeating as long as we captures not only spatial, but also in terms of time series, then we will get what we call a patterns. We can provide more appropriate what are the tourisms, what are the tourist needs when they come to our area. So these are the theories that we have. Even not only we know the patterns, but we also can predict. We can predict why, what the people or what the tourists looking for, what the tourists looking for if they come to North Sulawesi, if they come to Bali, etc., etc. Then we can anticipate products, services, and other kind of supporting infrastructures should be ready to welcome these tourists. This is the power of big data analysis. And the starting point to recognize that patterns, we don't go beyond what we have. We utilize what we have which is cultural heritage and natural history. Bunaken is our natural history. Culinary, handcraft, etc., is our cultural heritage. So we collect all these cultural symbols, put it into digitals, and also our natural history. To the government, to the academic, this has become a big data. For the tourism, this has become a services. So this also a research that supported by a strong theory, but also when it is implemented, give a lot of benefit to others. These are the architecture of our engine. As we can see at the bottoms, we collect not only document about text, but also pictures, video, even audio, where the users, depends on the gadgets they have, they don't have to look for each of these media. When they search, for example, Manado, they will get all information about Manado related to text, audio, video, etc., pictures. And then cultural-based games. This is also our assets. As we can see, Indonesia have hundreds of cultures and have a specific symbol. One of the research that we develop right now, how to build a cultural village. If I want to learn about Bali, what are the symbols, for example, village in Bali? So it's just like a game, you pick from several pieces and then you build a village that represent certain area or certain cultures. And information security, this is also very important. From our latest research, as I mentioned before, we use these gadgets around 6 hours per day. Without we realize a lot of unsecure things we do with that gadgets. We propose a new theory that not worry about attacking a physical and logical, but what we worry most is at the middle one, attacking our socials and cultural. From our study, we found that most of Indonesia use this technology more toward negative things as compared to positive things. All over the country, we have a data in each city, in each province, and this is a danger to the existence of our next generation because they only know how to use this gadget, not for a productive things, but for negative things. That's to say, pornography. So, our research is very, what should I say? It's very striking, the result that we found most of Indonesian, no matter the age, whether young generation, old generation, they use these gadgets more toward negative things as compared to the positive things. So we propose in information security another dimension beside physical attacks and logical attacks. What we call the third dimension is social and cultural attacks. So we developed a framework as well. This is the basis of our system so that we have to swing the pendulum from the negative things to the positive things. So what are the challenges and opportunity in this small medium enterprise? Small medium enterprise is a key driver of Indonesian economy. As I mentioned before, its contribution to the GDP, its contribution to the workforce is very, very significant. So it is a strong reason that if we do a research from theory to practice, this small medium enterprise is one of the playing fields that we have to consider. In conclusion, research and development demand-driven on ICT will keep developed, and we have to anticipate the futures with this research, but do not forget the demand in the futures. And these are the area where we can exercise in research. Research and development direction is to use resource base as our strong foundation, big asset that we have, which is cultural and natural history, that we have very variable from one area to another area. Big opportunity on research and development based on rich, full local context, local content and applications. Research and development that focus on the targeted application for usefulness will sustain. We strongly believe that if our research based on what we have, resource based, we strongly believe that it will have a more sustainability as compared to others. Develop collaboration not only from multidisciplinary point of view, but also from several institutions in Indonesia as well as from other countries. So these are the things that we have been doing so far in my laboratory at Faculty of Computer Science. Hopefully it will give an insight to all of us what is this bridging research to the practice. Maybe not only in the ICT, we would like also to see it in agricultures, in other areas that have a big potential to strengthening our research agenda, so it will be more useful and give benefit to the humankind. I think that's all I can say. Thank you very much for your attention.